All right. Well, let's get things set up. It's Sunday morning. It's about 10 a.m. Let's put the work week off a little bit longer. Talk about toys. So, first thing we need to do, pull up the chat, set that up, and get our first poll running. So let's get that, and then we will go into the update. So okay, let's start here. We'll start there, and then we'll go over. So there, that should be the first run. Storage, Motu Chronicles, G.I. Joe, Marvel Legends. Those are the first run of choices. I think everything is set up, and then we'll go into the channel update. So, first off, with the channel update, I don't think I can delete that yet. With the channel update, looks like oh my gosh. This number is slightly inaccurate because now it says I have 97 thumbnails still waiting, but I know that that's wrong. I actually think we're about down to like 81 videos left to be edited, because there's some stuff in here that I took now for stand-ins for topic videos that might be done, and I'll have to go through and rearrange that number. We are very close to finishing the December. There's one more video left to edit for December, and then that will be posted. And like, it feels like we're so far behind, but like in every one of these lives, we cover about 3 or 4 toys and then 4 or 5 topics. So that's an editing process of, if we stream for 3.5 hours, I then have to watch the 3.5 hour video. I have to cut it into segments. I have to create those segments in chapters, edit those, and then post them. And that could take about a week, depending on everything that's going on. But we film every week. So falling behind, it's very difficult to catch back up without like taking time off. So just going to keep it the way that it is. So far, I've started to do things like, if the topic just doesn't make sense anymore, I don't worry about the chapter. If it does still have relevance, or if I have more to add to the topic because it's been a while, I do the editing bill at the end, where I come in and I say, hey, we filmed this all the way back in January, December, February, whatever. There's still stuff to talk about here, but it's not quite the same situation, or let's expand on that. Or, you know, this is what I was thinking at the time. It doesn't necessarily ring true anymore. So I think that will help to kind of alleviate some things that get posted so late that the conversation seems almost weird. Like, we were talking about the DC Mattel figures in the video posted last night. And that video specifically talks about a line of figures coming out. What that rumor turned out being was, it turned out being right, but the rumor was actually about the core line, the kids line. But still, what we discussed in that line still is relevant. So I decided just to kind of post onto the end an editing bill and just kind of be like, hey, look, we talked about this like literally almost 6 months ago. This is the situation. This is how we see it, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's working, and we're going to keep running with that. And I do feel like the editing process for a lot of this is speeding up. It's taking a minute to get everything underway, but it is happening. Also, I have about 9 topic videos that are due to be done pretty soon, probably in between the edits. So that's a thing. And then that might be it for channel update. Life update, however, you'll remember I had to take a couple of streams off because my back molar had a hairline fracture that split the tooth basically in half. I bit into an apple. That has now been filled and fixed. They did a tremendous job. The dentist that I got to hand it to him. I was looking at it. You could barely tell that there was ever damage to the tooth. However, the tooth is now brittle because of how much they had to do, because they basically had to run a root canal. I was in so much pain, so they had to run a root canal and take some stuff out, and then they basically refilled and basically remolded and everything, and so it's there. And it was done Wednesday. Thursday I hurt so bad I couldn't go to work. Friday I still hurt pretty significantly, but I could go to work. Yay. So I went to work. After that, Saturday seemed like I was 100% fine. Like no issues at all, 100% fine. Until Saturday night. Last night. I was back to eating food. Everything seemed like it was working. I sneezed last night. I know. Oh my God. I sneezed last night. It felt like somebody punched me right in the jaw. I mean, it was instantly right back to the worst pain. Like, felt like I just broke it again. I did not. No filling or anything like that came out. But holy crap, that was a wake-up call. Because for the most part, right now, I don't hurt at all. But that sneeze told me I'm not better yet. I think I'm at that weird point where I was hurting for like 2 weeks. And I was hurting so significantly that now that I don't feel like I'm hurting, it feels like I'm completely fine. No, that sneeze told me I am not. Like, oh my gosh. I go back in 2 Wednesdays from now, and I'll get another exam where they'll see if everything took. And then, of course, we'll start discussing a crown and things like that. So, as far as I can tell, doing okay. So, should be a pretty good episode. If I start having pain, that will be the end of the episode. I have no idea. Just try not to sneeze, I guess, because, wow, man, that hurt. What is going on, everybody? What the what? I think I jacked up my hand by ignoring Bruce Lee's words. Decided to fight the freezer at work instead of getting fired. Because quitting smoking is fun. Oh my gosh. Dude. Good luck. Honestly, I'm rooting for you. It's a lot of the people I've seen quit tell me it's no easy task. And I completely believe that. Completely believe that. So we've got 8 minutes in. We're looking at 50-50. Right now it's G.I. Joe and storage, which is fine. This guy has to move. Okay. So I see those. I've got stuff down here. So I'll move that so that I can get into that. when we need to. Oh, wait, G.I. Joe is now winning because we got another vote in. But we'll see. We usually try to give these 10 minutes. Sometimes they run over if we get on a topic discussion while we're waiting. And speaking of G.I. Joe and topic discussions, it is very exciting that I may very soon have an ideal Tomb Raider. This is the only Laura I have ever had, aside from a statue. This is it. This Laura is Play Arts Kai. I don't like Play Arts Kai. I got her, if you'll remember that video, from a video game, a box set. Excuse me. I like her a lot for what it's worth, even though she is not my favorite figure by miles and miles. I just don't really care for Play Arts Kai. I think they're wildly overpriced for what they are, and I think a lot of their articulation and whatnot is dated, to say the least, especially for the prices that they charge. But now there seems to be this collaboration happening between G.I. Joe and Tomb Raider. I've seen some mock-ups, and I until they release it, until they do one of those fan streams or whatever and they show it to me, because of the way AI is, I can't trust anybody's video where they're like, oh, a first look at blah, blah, blah. And like everybody seems to have a slightly different look at a first picture of a reveal or whatever. Until I see it, I'm not believing any of it. But right now, G.I. Joes, for the price that they ask, for what we get, they are very solid. Personally, I think G.I. Joe rocks it, especially with the kind of humanoid figures that they do. Especially for like main market. Like this is stuff that just goes on a Walmart shelf. They could do a very solid Laura. I'm looking forward to that. Like, very much so. I'm very much looking forward to it. And I'm curious, are we just getting the new one from the remake that's coming up? That would be fine. I think she looks fantastic. Or are we going to get variations, different costumes, like a wave of Croft? Because that would be cool. Are we going to get other characters? I have no idea. All I know is that the news is showing that there's a collab and that they're going to bring in Tomb Raider figures into the G.I. Joe line. Is it going to be some sort of an amalgamation where it's Laura, but if Laura was in the G.I. Joe universe, maybe that could still be cool? I don't know. I'm very much looking forward to what this is, what it becomes. So we'll see. But I am very much interested in what it's going to do. Looks like G.I. Joe 1, actually. Good luck, just stick to it. My mom tried to... Yep, absolutely. Hey, what's going on? Good. Good for what it's worth. Ideal Laura Croft is Mezco. Did Mezco do one? Because if so, I was unaware of it. But also, Mezco, like I said, that's not going to be an easily accessible... Like, that's going to be an expensive figure. Could be worth it because it is Mezco. But then again, it would also, like I said, I've argued this before with Mezco. Mezco seems to run their scale smaller. And... so then I would have a Laura that would be like tiny compared to the other figures on the shelf that would make sense alongside her. Because Laura, I picture standing, if I had to pick one thing out of everything I've ever collected, her standing with G.I. Joe figures does make the most sense. They would look like they belong in the same universe. And it would be nice that all the Marvel and everything would link up with her size and everything as well. So then I could also do like some cool crossovers with her, like going like with her with Black Widow and things like that. This would be really cool. I think the scale is perfect, where if Mezco did it, I would argue that more than likely the scale would be like a tinier Laura. Not this tiny, you get the idea. But like she would be a tinier Laura, and then I'd constantly have to deal with camera angle and things like that to make it look like she belongs standing with everybody else. So, I don't know, like for me, this G.I. Joe thing it's very ideal. Mezco did not make one. You were just, I get it. Hey, what's going on? Pre-ordered Captain Commando from 52 Toys from Big Bad Toy Store. Probably the first and only time we are going to get him in 1/12 scale. I would imagine you are right. I would imagine you're right. I would be hard-pressed to believe that Captain Commando has a large toy future. Like, yeah, I don't see it happening. Captain Commando is what it is. I like Captain Commando. I've played Captain Commando. And of course, I've played Marvel versus Capcom, which is what introduced me to him in the first place. The chance that we're going to see toys in an expanded capacity for Captain Commando is very slim. So if you like him, you could be right. This could be your only real opportunity. So, let's see. Let's set this up real quick. I gotta make 4 of them here. All right, I have... there's that. I have him. I have that, and I'm not sure what's under that. What is this? Oh my God. There. That is everything that I currently have sitting right there, easily accessible. Let's see, I need to dive in and play some Tomb Raider games. I've only played the first game on my dad's PS1 over a decade ago. Well, you are in luck. You could just buy the games. That's fair, especially if you're a collector or whatnot. And PlayStation games, you have a very high probability of finding a case still intact with the book and the disc in good condition. You have a very good shot of doing that. But there are alternatives if you just want to try it out before you drop the money on collector's items. There are 2 collections now that you could get on the Switch, the PlayStation, Steam, and they are basically remasters of the first game, giving you an idea of how they used to play. With slight modifications, you can like choose to use the alternate control scheme and things like that. I went back recently and played Part 1, the original PlayStation Part 1. I loved the Tomb Raider games. But when I was a kid, I adapted to their crap factor. Look, 3D was new, okay? Because people are immediately, you say something like that, and they're like, oh my God, Bill. Because they don't like it when you attack like an old game. But we have come so far from those old games. The entire game is built in squares, and I don't mean their polygon count. I mean, Laura is actually locked to a grid. When you take a step forward, she works by squares. When you jump, it's dedicated to an exact arc of the exact squares, and so on and so forth. And everything feels like it has a delay. She walks with tank controls, that is, highly irritating. If you've never dealt with it, it's highly irritating. Like, it's one of those things like I play Resident Evil. And I played it for so long that I got used to it. I can play 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't bother me. Those tank controls don't bug me at all. And yes, before anybody says anything, while they were refined, Resident Evil 4 is still using tank controls. It just is. But it's very refined. It's the best tank controls of the series. I'm going to give it that 100%. But that's the way these games feel. And going back and having not played Tomb Raider in a very long time, jumping and missing ledges because it did not read the input, or there's like a lag in the input of your jump, like you're running and you expect that just like in a modern game, you could run and get up to the very edge and then hit the jump, and then you will jump off the very edge and it will always work, and then you can hit the button. Nowadays, she'll like auto grab things or whatever, or like it's just a lot more responsive. It's not in that old game, and you notice it. I mean, I would jump, or sometimes I'd just run off a ledge, or I would jump and hit the button and she wouldn't grab anything, even though blatantly she should have. Or I'd run and I'd hit the button, like trying to kind of compensate for like the weird lag that seems to exist in the jump command. And I'd hit the button and jump way too soon, and because she's locked to a grid, like that's it, that's the direction she's jumping, the exact distance that she is jumping. It's a pain. Personally, for me, and I've always felt this way, this isn't like a new feeling, peak Laura, for me, in that era, all the PlayStation 1 games are okay. Like, they were monumental for their time, and then we kind of passed them up, and then they became what they are. They just feel like okay games to me. It's the start of really getting into 3D. It pushes a line. When it works and you understand it and you've gotten used to its crap factor, those games are perfect. You know exactly what you can get away with, because like I said, the whole game is built on a grid. You know that if you side jump here, you're going to end up here, you're going to end up there, and you know that this, you could jump off of this and move to this. You understand 100%. You start to see the world in squares. It works. It works for the time. It's fine. But I feel like Tomb Raider really came into its own when it went to Tomb Raider Legends. That is my Laura, personally. I liked the first one. I played them. I grew up with them. I loved Legends. Those 3 games feel nearly perfect to me. They just worked for their time. And not that they don't have a crap factor too. They do. Every older game has this little older control scheme and like we're still learning thing that you just kind of get used to. That's fine. Double Dragon is not expected to be a modern day side-scrolling beat-em-up. It's fair. You do have to appreciate what they did when they did it and understand the game's age. However, with all that said, the best games, I think, for Laura are the new ones. Like the, well, there's new ones now. But the 3 that were done by Square Enix, crazy good. Absolutely crazy good. Some of the best games I ever played in my entire life. But that is not my ideal Laura. I tend to gravitate towards Legend Laura being the way that I see her, the way I want her to be. We're all going to have differences on that one, but yes, you get the idea. That's kind of where my mind goes with the whole older Tomb Raider games. So, what I'm telling you with all of this, I would tell you, buy one of those 3-packs. Those games, buy one of those first. If you're just collecting, who cares? Go get the games. Go get them. But if you're specifically collecting because you want to play them, these might be games that you won't like. We have come far and away from where that was. The world has changed. Tomb Raider is better for it, personally. I would buy the pack before you go out and spend the money to get the physical copies. I have the physical copies. I think I have all of it. Because I have Tomb Raider 1, 2, 3, Chronicles. I have another one. I have 5 on the PS1, and I can't remember what that 5th one was. Do I have a 5th one? I feel like I have a 5th one. Or was Chronicles the last one? No. I cannot remember right now. I know I have every one on the PS1. Then I have the 3 for the next era, the Legends stuff, like Underworld and whatnot. And then I have 2 physically of the Square Enix run, because I did not buy the 3rd one physically. I have it on Steam. And of course, I'm looking forward to the new ones. I like all these games, but I would not sit here and lie to you and tell you that they were flawless. They are not. They have problems of the age they were made. You will notice it. You will notice it. It's funny, one of my favorite series that started on the PS1, Crash Bandicoot, went to crap when it jumped to the newer consoles. I was fighting with myself about that. And I don't know if it's just the way that they remastered it or what. But, like, when I go and play the old one, like, I swear I used to beat Crash Bandicoot a lot, like on the PS1. Like I was fairly good at that game. And then I went off and played it on the remastery. And I felt like I was missing jumps that I know I used to make. And like, I don't know, something felt weird about it. Like they changed something in the controls, or like that. I can't explain it. Something feels off. I know I used to beat the second game with no problems at all. None. I used to be able to one life the entire second game. I can't seem to do that on the Switch. Is it the controller? Is it something with input? Did somehow the remastery change something in the way something works, where now everything's a little sharper, but maybe the collision detection has been changed somehow? I don't have an answer. I just know it feels weird. So there's also an argument to be made. But for me, by the way, when I was talking about all the Tomb Raider, I was talking about the PlayStation 1 game. I was in my garage on my retro TV with my old game. I know what I'm talking about with that game. It's not just in the remastered things feel funny. That game feels like it feels. I like the remaster, not more than the OG versions, but I meant like the PS2, GameCube era, because they kept rushing it and they turned it into a platform. And I get that too. Games change as they go, and that's exactly like the Tomb Raider. I just picked, like, for me, I like the first, but the changes that were made personally make the Legends era my era, but then I can't deny that there are better games and so on and so forth, but that's everything I've got with that. So we're at 11 minutes. We are like matching on way too much of this, so I get to pick what we do. Let me answer one more of these real quick. G.I. Joe is easily Hasbro's best product. You never really feel cheated by Classified like you do with Legends or Black Series. And I would agree with that. I think pound for pound, plastic for plastic, G.I. Joe is the absolute best action figures on the market for Hasbro. That is their line. It consistently performs well, even arguably when it performs bad. Some of that bad, I would argue, comes down to how people feel about certain things. Like you know how people come in and they want it to be what they want it to be because they grew up with something and they just want it to be that. I don't have that connection to this property. So I'm just looking at toys, and I have yet to be disappointed by even one single thing that I have seen. Thank you, sir. Also, new picture, man. Saw Dan Yun's tweet, Bill might be teasing more Marvel vs. Capcom 2 stuff. I did not see his tweet. I have not been on X for quite a long time. Like, I still have it on my phone. Every now and then I will click it and then, like, scroll down the timeline or whatever to see if there's any toy news, and then I'll get about maybe 20 in and be like, turn it off. I basically spend most of my time now on Instagram, if you're talking about a social media. And I've noticed that my Instagram, it doesn't matter how many toy accounts I follow or how many times I click like, or even now I'm trying to like repost toy content to try to force the algorithm to send me toy content. It just doesn't seem like it wants to do it. I have no idea why. So I end up missing a lot of his stuff on there if he posts on there at all. So I did not know that, but I'm also not surprised at all. Because, like, that Marvel vs. Capcom wave, and I don't care what they want to argue, that's what it was phenomenal. You going to give me a second wave of that? Let's do it. Gimme. Lara Croft is an excellent excuse. Oh, you're right. I didn't even think about that. That's perfect. You're right. That's a brilliant, perfect excuse to reuse things like the timber mold. And you could take the polar bear and maybe modify it to be a great brown bear or something like that, or black bear. And if you did it right, that would also work for her. Maybe we could get another animal in the line, like a tiger or something. Oh, that's cool. A big gorilla? Now I'm even more excited. This could be one figure. I want it to be so much more. No! I would love to see G.I. Joe just hit the ground and be like, hey, here's a wave of 5 different Lauras from different eras, different looks. Oh man, I'd be so into that. I have high hopes for this. I really do. Which Flint, since there are 2? Well, the one that I currently have, that's been sitting here for a while, is the Retro Flint. The cardback Flint. Which is, from what I have heard, is the preferred Flint by most people. Like I said, I don't have an attachment like that, so I'm not going to make a reference one way or another on that, but I've heard that he's the preferred Flint. So, let's do this. Agent Helix. I've been sitting on this figure for what feels like forever. I bought this figure because she looks cool. That's it. I don't know anything about her. I don't know where she came from. I haven't read books that feature her. I've never seen a show. I haven't seen a show at all. We've talked about this many times. But, however, this figure right here is exactly what it used to feel like when I was a kid. I did not, we've been over this a couple of times, but I did not watch G.I. Joe as a kid. Ever. I did not see an episode of G.I. Joe till I was older, and it was playing on like Cartoon Network while I was trying to download ROMs or something like that. That's what I remember, is the episode was on over there, and I was over here at my computer desk, and I was like downloading some ROMs or something so that I could try a new ROM hack that I discovered or something like that. And then it was playing an episode where Beachhead and Jinx were like fighting in a dojo or something like that, and that's the only thing that I've ever seen of G.I. Joe, except for a weird, like, DVD that came with a G.I. Joe. I don't remember who he was. Some sort of superhuman, super soldier G.I. Joe guy or something like that. Who, and then I remember there was like a Snake Eyes scene where like Scarlet is in like a laser cage or something and he shows up. And then she's like, hey, maybe you could do this fancy ninja thing or blah, 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 or yada, yada. And he just pushes the button and turns the bars off. And she's like, oh, or that could also work good. And I remember kind of laughing at that scene. And is that the same one that or maybe I've seen a clip. Maybe that's not the same DVD. But I remember like him shooting bullets and somebody else shooting bullets or something. And the bullets colliding in midair. So I don't Don't know. I never watched it. I was not a fan of G.I. Joe like that. I never read the comics until very recently. When I was growing up, though, G.I. Joes were everywhere. I had favorite G.I. Joes. I knew nothing about them. I would go to the store, and I would see a guy on a shelf. Ninja. And I'd be like, oh, cool. And I'd take him off the shelf. And then I would literally have my own story about that guy, how he looked, what his name was, like why he got that name or whatever, what his jobs were, the kind of personality he had. I would just look at that guy and let my imagination run wild. Then I'd take that guy home. Then it was time to play guys. That's what we used to call it, playing guys. That was G.I. Joe for me. Strangely enough, that was a time in my life with toys where we just bought toys because they were cool, because they were fun, because they were exciting, because they were imaginative. We didn't have to have a huge meaning, and they didn't have to be attached to nostalgia. We didn't have nostalgia yet. We were discovering things that were interesting to us. It's the way it was. You would go to the store. Sometimes you didn't even know what this thing was. But it was a cool skeleton man in a cloak. That's cool. You buy it. It's a transformer thing. It's a jet. You buy it. It's a spaceman dude with a gun. You buy it. That was very normal for us. We would go to things like KB Toys, Target, Kmart, and we would find random toys and get excited about, this guy is cool. That's all we needed. Some of our favorite toys growing up, we could probably not even tell you what toy line they came from. We just had them. When I was growing up, I had one toy. I didn't know who it was. It was this orange and yellow guy, orange, yellow, and white, and his hair was on fire. His hair was fire. I thought that guy was so cool. I know now, years later, who that is, because he's part of DC. But back when I got him, when I was like 6 years old, I had no clue who that was. I just knew he was really cool. His hair was fire. And he flew around with my Superman and did all kinds of superhero bad guy stuff. Because he was a bad guy for me. His hair was on fire and he would shoot fire at the Man of Steel and things like that. It's the way I played the game. I didn't know. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know anything about that guy. I do now. But I didn't then. This has been interesting. Because seeing G.I. Joe and seeing what it is and just kind of like going, oh man, that is too cool, and buying it is almost like being a kid again. There's not too many things out there, and I know most everybody else that's in G.I. Joe that's collecting is collecting on a form of nostalgia or understanding of the property. I'm not them. But it's interesting to me that we are entering an era where this is starting to happen again. We're starting to rediscover what it's like to buy for our imagination, for our interest. Mythic Legion. Her right there. Nieve. Why'd I buy her? Barbarian elf lady. That's cool. She doesn't have a story for me. There's no grand mythology or anything behind it. That's cool. Skeleton guy. That's cool. Now we've got Brutal Realms coming up with super beefy men. Super beefy men. You buy some of those super beefy men, they're not set in stone in your childhood. You don't have an idea of what they are yet. They're just cool figures. And we're seeing this in a whole bunch of startup lines. That there's a wave right now of people, it's called like Dragonair, something like that. But it looks like a new stylistic idea of like barbarian 1980s toys. That's cool. They even look like old He-Man. They have the same level articulation and everything like that. You don't know these characters. They're just something really neat that you could own, something you could dive into, something your imagination could run wild with, something you could put on the shelf that looks like it belongs there. But you don't have a big story behind it. You don't have a nostalgia. You don't have a major attachment. You have a childhood innocence of imagination and interest, and that's the only thing you have to go on. Do you want the figure? It has been very interesting to collect G.I. Joe and reestablish that little bit of wonder that used to exist in my childhood life. I don't know anything about her, but I seen her. And I was like, I'm not passing her up. She is cool. And it is happening, especially in barbarian figures right now, that wonder of, I'm going to buy that. Why? What do you mean why? Because it's like a Grim Reaper skeleton Dark Knight man. That's why. That's cool. That is genuinely cool. Like Eternal Champions that's starting to hit the wall right now. There's some stuff in there that I want. And not because it's Conan, because it's Skeleton Man, because it's cool Dark Knight guy, because it's wild vampire with a scythe lady person. Like, we've got cool things coming and already here in toys. I have argued this already, and I'll say it again. I don't care. I realize that times are tough. But I'm telling you, for toys, we are living in a golden age of toy collecting right now. All the nostalgia is there. All the retro is available. But all the future is in front of us, and imagination is back on the shelves in a way that has never been seen since you were 5. It is here, now. If you want it, it exists. You can buy John Carter of Mars. I just got Necron. You could buy Flintstone toys right now. You could buy Serial Icon figures. The idea that there's nothing in this hobby for you, that you just can't find anything you like, you're not looking. You're not looking. That's the only explanation I could give you. You're not looking. Because right now, there is everything for everybody when it comes to figures. I'm telling you. There are Golden Girl action figures. Even your grandma might actually appreciate a set of Golden Girls from NECA to put on her shelf. Golden age of action figure collecting. We're in it right now. I don't care. Let's open her. All right, so Helix comes with this. This works. I know what it is. But as of everything that I have opened, G.I. Joe wise, you kind of get used to this idea that they all kind of come with these backpacks, right? And while I get it, excuse me, while I get it, at first glance, this feels like the weakest backpack accessory that we have gotten in the entire line, because it is remarkably minimalistic. I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just kind of funny. I seen it and I was like, oh boy, don't go all out or nothing. Don't. But I get why. This holds the swords, because she does come with these two swords. Yellow down here, which seems to be like a color for her. And then these black blades. That's pretty cool. Stylistically, black blades are cool. I would argue that the silver blades or whatever probably would have been more cool and would have helped to have brought out some of the definition, because there is a definition on the blade which you can't, I mean, there's no way I could even show it on the camera, but the edge of the blade actually has that wave across this part of the blade that you really can't even see. I mean, I gotta get like in just the right light to even notice it on the black paint, but it's there. So they went out of the way to sculpt the blades really, really nice, but then they paint the blades black, which is a stylistic choice, which is kind of cool. It does work with the yellow, but you get my argument. You would have gotten more detail out of the silver. However, her signature weapon, at least from what it seems on the box and everything else, are these bad boys right here that go connected to her wrists, which these are really, really cool, these wrist blades, and they remind me of like Guilty Gear Chip had those type of things, the wrist blades that connected and then went back and everything. I always thought that was really cool. She also has a really neat knife. I don't know anything about knives, so to me, this is just a neat knife. I don't know if this kind of style has a name or anything like that, but there it is. And then she comes with two handguns. Once again, not any kind of weapons expert, but she has two handguns, sculpted well, painted badly, but hey, it's G.I. Joe. I'm not going to be mad about it. And both these guns also have extended clips. At least I believe that's what that's referred to as. And then, on to her. She's wearing, I think these are the pants. I think I saw these pants on the Classified Scarlet. I feel like I'm recognizing this piece right here. So that's where I think I'm seeing that from. She's got these little jet engines on the back of her legs here. That's kind of neat. I like this belt that hangs down. Very cool. Most of the time, this is true. I'm guessing that her knife goes here because there's a little thing right there, but maybe not. Because, like, you wouldn't get the blade through there, but maybe it goes up like this. I'm not sure. I'll play around with it, but it's there. She's got extra clips and pouches and everything like that. And then she has a cool color scheme. I like that the sleeves are up a little bit. I think that that's neat. Let me get me out of here. That's cool that they went through the trouble on her arm. They gave that little display. It actually has like a little display. It's painted well. She has a Band-Aid. I wonder if that's like part of her character somehow. She has a Band-Aid. It's only painted. It's not sculpted, but she has a Band-Aid on her wrist right there. That's kind of wild. I wonder what that's about. Like just a previous issue, or is there actually something a little deeper behind the Band-Aid? Like, does she, because this is, she's got that neck. She's got that neck that everybody makes a big deal about that are showing up on on, you know, some Marvel Legends now, but have literally been going on in G.I. Joe for a couple of years now. And then her herself, fantastic. I love the different color of hair. It could be a little bit better. You could have painted the bottom and kind of blacked out the bottom of the hairline a little bit or darkened it. But I do like the bang. And I like the face overall. It's not bad. She has a unique look. She's kind of cool. Like, I do like it. The eyes are really good. But you also gotta hand it to Hasbro, like I said before. This is just a Hasbro thing. Hasbro's doing faces in the last couple of years. Not that we haven't had some bad ones, but in the last couple of years, Hasbro has really been nailing it with the face sculpts. Some of the best Marvel Legend faces I have ever seen came out of like the last 4 years. Like some really, really good, oh, that's definitely him. That looks right. That's her. That's fantastic. Like in the last time I got to open up the Black Widow figure that I got, she looked fantastic. They're doing very, very good faces and have been for a little while now. So, all in all, everything said and done, I think she's really good. She's cool. This is always, of course, a first impression. I may discover things as I go, like I'm discovering that there's a lot of tightness in her joints, which is the reason I decided not to move her around right now, because like her knees feel fine, but her arms, I mean, that feels really tight. So I'm definitely going to warm her up and pop her out. Like I'm noticing, this is kind of weird. Her torso goes back here, but it's not really moving forward, but it's moving back. Otherwise, she has all the movement and everything that I'm expecting. She just can't seem to move forward, which I think is weird. Maybe I'll have to heat that up. Maybe I'll have to pull that and see if maybe I need to shave the joint down a little bit to get her to move forward the way I want. But a solid figure. She's very cool, which, like I said, when I saw her, what was my intention? Oh, that figure's cool. I got exactly what I wanted out of that. Sometimes toys are that simple. Fun, cool, exciting, imaginative. That's all they need to be sometimes. And sometimes the argument of price or authenticity, you know, like, oh, it's not screen accurate, that doesn't even come into play sometimes. It's like the argument that a movie made a lot of money, so it's a good movie. No. That means it made a lot of money. And in the end, that does not justify your opinion of your movie being better than somebody else's. Movies, figures, they're art, they're subjective. What do you feel about it? Because if it speaks to you, that's all it needed to do. Sometimes it's no more deeper than that. You can like a bad movie. You can like a figure that didn't hit everybody else's mark. And sometimes that's all it needs to do is just be cool, just be fun. I didn't need anything else out of her. I don't have a lot here, just that, and I'm fine with that. Okay, let's load this. So let's move from... Got that. Oh, okay. There. That'll start that out. Fix this. There. I remember we had to look up a walkthrough when we were watching you play it on your PC. And that was talking about. That was the anniversary game, which, on a personal note, because I didn't even stop to think about that for the Tomb Raider discussion that we literally just had. I know how some people will feel about what I am going to say. Anniversary. Tomb Raider Anniversary, that game, I think it's a bad game. I said it. I think it's a bad game. There's something about it that does not click. Sometimes it doesn't work. It feels weird. I think it's a bad game. I'm sorry. I said it. That's the one. If I had to pick one Tomb Raider game that I dislike the most, it's not Angel of Darkness. Hold on now. Angel of Darkness is the worst Tomb Raider game. It's the worst one. It's the worst game they made. But, big old cheeks, I never play that game, so it never bothers me. But Anniversary of games that I played, that I cared enough to put real time into, Tomb Raider Anniversary is the worst Tomb Raider I have ever consistently played. Ever. And I've always felt that way. These youngsters will never know the pure joy of locking the butler in the freezer. We were all so wrong for that. We were so wrong for that, man. I remember playing Tomb Raider. Butler was walking around farting. That's what I remember when I played it as a kid. But for me, I played mostly Crash Bandicoot 2 and Street Fighter Super Turbo mostly. Yes, that's exactly what this comment was about, was the butler would follow you around and there was a way to lock him in the freezer and get rid of him so he wouldn't... we were so wrong for that. I didn't get an alert or notification. That seems to be happening on the regular. I actually get this told to me a lot. Which is why I'm trying to create a consistency that we come in here at 10 or about 10 on Sundays. That way it kind of negates if you just check over here and I'm streaming, that's fine. And if they don't give you the notification, then that's the way it is. Because I'm noticing that's happening a lot. So I tried to pick a consistent time, and 10 on Sunday seems to be a decent run right now. Did you ever see and or pick up Sir Stin Shining Knight from McFarlane? No. I mean, I must not have, because I'm not even sure what that is. Yeah, I don't know. Then there was Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. Loved that game back on the PS1. That's a game I'm very surprised has not had a collection or a remake. And some of them need it, because, oh my gosh, the original first Legacy of Kain game, I beat that game twice on the PlayStation. I don't think I could put myself through that again. I don't think I could do it. Like, I tried to play it again about 2 years back, and I was either a better gamer or had a lot more patience and time. Because, wow. Bushido Blade is the best game to ever release on the PS1. I'll die on this hill. That's subjective. I can't argue against you. But I'll say this. PlayStation 1 is a very tough era to pick a best. Personally. Like, oh my god, dude, you're talking about Resident Evil 2. You're talking about Metal Gear Solid. You're talking about Tomb Raider 2. You're right. That's right. I said 2. You're talking about Crash Bandicoot 2. You're talking about Bushido Blade 2. I actually think the second Bushido Blade is better than the first. You're talking about some fantastic Street Fighter games, by the way. You're talking about dude, there's Final Fantasy 7 and 9. It's weird that they just went from 7 to 9, isn't it? Isn't that weird that they did that with Final Fantasy? Isn't that weird? You heard what I said. I omitted you for a reason, other game. We have, like was brought up, Soul Reaver, a very, very good game. Some people would argue that they loved the Siphon Filter series that came out back then. Oh, man, you had like Legacy, was it Suikoden? Dude, Suikoden 1, I like that one a lot. I noticed I finally got to play 2, and I don't know if it was just overhyped over the years and I never got to play it, and then I played it as an older man, so the hype isn't there for me, like the nostalgia doesn't exist, but I think Part 1 is a better game. Just putting it out there. Hey, but this is subjective. Spyro is fantastic. I already said Crash Bandicoot 2. Like, dude, PlayStation, it's hard to make a 10 list. Oh, Twisted Metal. Ooh, let me think. I'm debating. 1 doesn't even get a chance. 2 is there, but I think 2 is also, it's got a hardcore learning curve, and it can be very, very hard, and it can put some people off, and it doesn't feel like a party game because it's only 2-player. And was it? Yeah, I think it's only 2-player. That holds it back, arguably. So then it comes down to 3 and 4. And I think I'm going to give it to 4. 4 has a very complete roster. It has some of the best 4-player that you can possibly do. The game works pretty well. It has decent enough levels. I think I like the levels for 3 more, but the combat is arguably better in multiplayer for Part 4 when you're playing with an actual 4 living people and the bots. That's so sick. Also, you can make your own cars in 4, which is really neat because you can literally play, hey, we're going to fight as many bots as the game will give us on the hardest difficulty with our own cars. Like, 4 is, I might have to give it to 4, even though there are things I like more about 3. PlayStation 1 is tough. It can be tough to narrow down a top 10 list. Arguably. Man, PlayStation 1 has such an era. And to be followed by PlayStation 2, which I would argue is an even greater era, you can make arguments either side. But I'm just saying in general, oh man. I know how it is to try to be like, oh man, this was the best era in gaming. It can be tough. I lived through the NES. I lived through the Super Nintendo. I lived through Sega Genesis. My era of gaming. Growing up, PS1. PS2 was coming into my adult life. During PS2, I got my first jobs. I started working. I, of course, was buying my own games and whatnot. I think PlayStation 2 was my gaming era because it was just at the right time. I'd moved out. I had a PlayStation 2. I had plenty of games. Like it's this weird era. I was living with my dad when PS2 was a thing. Then I moved out while PS2 was a thing, and I played a lot of PS2 like Dead or Alive and whatnot while moved out on my own. While the only real concern I had in my life was go to work, play video games. Like that was it. Some of PlayStation 2 falls into this. Sorry, PlayStation 3. That era and Xbox 360 starts to fall into that category, but not the same way because that's the weird era of I've got the PS3 and I'm playing games and I've got a whole lot of free time. Oh, but now there's this, and now there's family, and now there's overtime, and now there's more work, and now there's more bills. So that era starts to bleed into like real adult life. Not like exciting out on my own adult life where you don't really have anything to worry about. So I would say PlayStation 2, the end of PlayStation 2 and the beginning of PlayStation 3, that era is my gaming era. That's when I really got to do just play games and worry about nothing else. That's feels like that was when it was for me. Still waiting for somebody to make Marvel Still waiting for somebody to make Marvel figures that look as good as the Storm Arena stuff. All it takes is a freaking matte spray. I'm wondering if I'm going to argue this because I don't. Okay. I'm not going to argue it. Because I'm sitting here thinking sometimes I like the shiny look. I know that's weird, but like because it's comic books, like the shiny look feels right to me sometimes. But I'm also not going to argue that a matte finish that stops all the light from kind of reflecting. But then you want the light sometimes because like you want things like Silver Surfer, and I would argue that we've always, I don't think anybody ever thought that Black Widow was running around in cloth. I'm not talking latex here, but I've always felt like there was some sort of leather or material, like you always felt like that was like a bodysuit that wasn't exactly, you get what I'm saying? Like the black one, do we want that to kind of reflect light? But then you don't want Spider-Man. We know that Spider-Man's wearing like what he's wearing, so when like the light heavily reflects off of him, but you might want that for the symbiote look, because would he be shiny? Is he kind of gooey? I don't know. I could see where you're coming from, but then I wonder how many figures would actually be hurt by that look in the Marvel landscape, because you do kind of want that for certain figures too, I would think. Plus, like I said, I think the shinier look kind of feels a little more comic book to me. I don't know. G.I. Joe, Chuba Thingy. I recently rewatched the opening scene of the animated movie, and it was very well animated. It might be worth checking out for just that. I remember it being super weird, though. My context is missing because I was probably talking a lot. How is this doing? We are on Multiverse. So let's set this up real quick and we will keep on going. So we have Oh! Yeah? Is that right? Yeah. And... Oh, okay. Okay. As the G.I. Joe guy here, which I would appreciate that, because you know it's not me. Agent Helix is from a video game who was introduced, I think, in the IDW comics when they had the license, but same when getting into G.I. Joe, she was one of the first ones I saw. Okay. So she may have been introduced via video game and then was expanded upon in the IDW books. Okay. Neat. Neat. By the way, did you hear 2 creative leads of G.I. Joe just left the company? No, I did not. I wonder how that's going to affect things moving forward. Because sometimes that really does matter. Sometimes the creative vision of one person may not create the entire thing, but runs the scenario more than you would believe. And sometimes adding one more person who has a little more input can really affect the idea that's being pushed forward, even if the original guy stays. At any time you change a team or a band member or something like that, you are changing the creative outlet, the experience, the overall thing that you're about to get. So we could see a minor change in things, but we also wouldn't really see that change for probably another 2 years, because a lot of the stuff that's currently in the line was already, it's already there, went to the factory. So we probably won't see any significant hit or change for at least 2 years from that situation. I should probably know what that knife is called. I've seen it before in video games, but I don't. Yeah, I feel like I should know too. Like, I feel like I've seen that design, but I don't know if there's a specific name for it. Equilibrium was a fantastic movie. It failed at the box office because it was up against the first Matrix. Yes, and there's argument to be made that Equilibrium is either as good, if not better, than the Matrix. I know that for some people that's what? But this is one of those things, like I said, the amount of money that a movie made does not make it good or bad. It is completely irrelevant to the artwork at hand, the experience, the emotion, the story, the feeling. I have always had a problem with these people that say, oh, well, this movie I like better than this. Let's just do it for a second. I'll tell you exactly. Right now, I personally like the new Superman movie a lot. I love that movie. I really, really, really enjoyed it. Some people don't like it. That is fine. People liking the Henry Cavill Superman movies, there is nothing wrong with that. But when you like the Henry Cavill Snyderverse movies more than the new movie, and your justification for that to make yourself right, which first off, you're not right. You're also not wrong. Stop it. It's not a fight that we have to have. And nor will I have it with anybody. I've already done this a couple of times where people will comment because I'll say that I like that movie, and then people will do comments and even tag me and stuff see, I'm right because I don't like the director. I don't care. No, but I'm right because the Snyderverse made more money than James Gunn, and that makes me right. It doesn't. It doesn't. you're talking about subjective opinion. So you can't make me like your movie by presenting facts about how the one that you like is the right choice because everybody else is there with you money-wise. And it doesn't work that way. Movies are art. Art is subjective. Both of us can watch the exact same movie and even take different ideas and interpretations from the same movie because of the way it affects us. How much money that movie made is completely irrelevant to the conversation. And if you need to be right, to the point of quoting how much money your movie made, you have already lost the meaning of the movies, and you have already lost the argument. The amount of money that your movie made is completely irrelevant to a conversation about what we liked or disliked and the articulation of why we liked or disliked whatever it is that we liked or disliked. In fact, I talked for almost an hour on this guy here about a bad Superman movie. And I talked for an hour about everything in that movie that was great, fantastic, monumental, iconic even. That doesn't mean that I didn't turn right back around and go, now let's talk about why that movie's awful. But you get the idea. I never once brought up the fact that, oh, it made so much. Who cares how much money it made? Are you a journalist? Are you a movie journalist? Are you making a book? Are you in the business? Are you in the movie business? Did you have stock in WB? Then the price is completely irrelevant to you and to me about how much it cost to make, how much it made, how much it spent. It doesn't matter. 100% irrelevant to the conversation of why a movie is good or bad. The second somebody goes to, well, that movie made, we're done. We're done. I hold that opinion in high regard. Once you've got to go to prices to convince me, or even yourself, that the one that you like is better than mine because of whatever reason, which we don't need to have that conversation anyway, it's done. You have no leg to stand on. We are at 7 minutes and Larfleeze is winning. OG Shining Knight was on a team with Green Arrow and some others in the 40s. I don't know about the latter version. Shining Knight. I'm going to have to look him up. I know Aztec was released, which kind of blew me away because, like, who knows that guy? Oh, and, that Martian Manhunter. For a while, he was like another dude. Blood something? Or what? I don't remember. That dude came out as well from McFarlane not way too long ago, which I never expected to see him. Well, Bill, Soul Reaver 1 and 2 got remasters back in 2024. I did not realize this. You could pick them up on any of the current gen consoles. So Soul Reaver has had remasters, but Legacy of Kain, I think, is still stuck in its original. Hi, Bill. After you finished the G.I. Joe review, the sound went mute, and then it returned. It returned differently. Maybe it switched from the microphone to the computer. Let me check that then. Now that you've said that, let's see. I should be set to the Yeti microphone, so I'm not 100% sure And I'm not, I mean, I don't hear the... Makes me wonder for a second. Let me check something real quick. See if that's still the case. Doop, 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 doop. There's that. Yep. All right, talk, a microphone. Okay. I wonder if I'm. No, I mean, okay. So if it is an issue, I don't seem to be getting it on my end. Maybe I could turn the gain down a little bit, maybe. But I don't think I'm not. I don't seem like I'm hearing anything. But I don't know. If there are any other issues though, like if we're having sound issues, let me know and I will try to work on them. Symphony of the Night. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great PlayStation 1 game. Red Faction is PlayStation 2, if I'm remembering right, though. The original God of War hits differently. You knew you were going to be having some fun. You did. Like, you really did. Like, God of War just felt. Like, it just felt. You know, it's hard to explain, but, like, it really did, man. It really did. You knew from the beginning that you were in for something special. Like, it felt like a new gaming experience, even though we'd already done this kind of game many times. Did you ever want McFarlane to make a comic Poison Ivy? Yes. Yes. I would love a Poison Ivy, a solid Poison Ivy. Hard to say which one I would want the most, because there's been different looks over the eras, but a solid comic book Poison Ivy? Absolutely. He only put out Uma Thurman Ivy and Batman the Animated Series Ivy. And then I've heard that we're going to get a classic Ivy, but I think she's going to be built in like her very, very early appearances type of comic book look. Larfleeze gets all the votes or he'll take them from you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's good to know. If you ever hear something like weird in the sound or something, let me know and I will try to troubleshoot it. Because, yeah, of course I don't want things to be all messed up in the stream. I appreciate you actually saying something if there was a problem. Like Bill said, characters like Colossus and Silver Surfer would work without it. Silver Surfer work without it. Suits like Black Widows or Dominoes work with the matte finish. It just depends. Right. Yeah, I think it's a little more complicated. Street Fighter, everybody kind of needs to look the same. Yeah, the matte finish, I think, plays differently with different characters when it comes to, like, the comic book guys. But I very much, like I said, I very much get where that argument is coming from. I like Superman 2025 and Man of Steel and know both have greatness and both have dumb. and both have dumb. I'm just here to have fun. I love Superman. Whoosh and away. I like that. Both have dumb. The two members from G.I. Joe who left Hasbro went to Boss Fight Studio. Okay. One of them was a senior designer called Lenny Panzica. He was very praised by the G.I. Joe community. All right, that's cool. That'll be interesting to see what he does boss fight wise. Also, Bill, Dan teased that people may want to stick around to see what they have at their booth at SDCC. It sounds pretty big. We're coming up on that time. We're coming up on that here's all the stuff coming. Like, absolutely. You know what I mean? Let's just say Man of Steel and Superman 2025 had stuff. We are... Okay. Oh. My God. I'm gonna let this happen. Hold on. I live next to an airport. I have no idea if the mic is picking it up, but we got a jet going over. It's funny because sometimes I'm playing games in here, and my daughter's in like another room or whatever, and like we also have an air base that's around this area, and we have helicopters that fly around. And like if a helicopter is flying pretty close to our house, like you'll hear it over the mics, like with the other people that we're playing with. And they'll like I'll hear it, like Gwen will say something and I'll hear or whatever. Larfleeze. Is this not the literal mascot of our hobby? Mine? I want it. I want that. Give me that. It's not exactly what I wanted. Does this guy seem familiar to you? Is this not the reaction that you have when the scalper buys all the Wonder Woman and now it's costing $200 to get it? Is this not the literal feeling that you had that created Flipor? Larfleeze is amazing. I cannot believe we got a Larfleeze. This is so cool. I was introduced to Larfleeze in Blackest Night. I didn't know he existed until then. And when I seen him, I had to know some of the other things he'd done. So I started reading up, looking into things, buying books. And I discovered things like that Larfleeze hates Santa Claus because he like wrote a big Christmas list and didn't get what he wanted. I love the fact that he's the only member of his corps, making him the strongest lantern in his corps and possibly of the corps. Standalone 1v1, Larfleeze could probably beat almost anybody because he is the only one. And just like years ago, Hal killed off a bunch of lanterns to basically, and we know that there's a whole storyline involved here, but because he knew that the power would then circulate amongst the rings differently and basically make him stronger and stronger and stronger, he's the only one. And if you do get one of the rings, he will kill you to get it back. Yes. Larfleeze is wild. They even do an event on DCUO, the DC Universe Online. They do an event each Christmas with Larfleeze. That's awesome. Dude, I really love the idea that we got a Larfleeze. Like, there's only one thing this guy is missing. I could be wrong. I could easily be wrong. Okay? Would it have been cool? I'm asking a real question. Because I think there's only a couple of things that could have made this better. We got Larfleeze. Okay? That's perfect. Let's lay 3 things down that would have made this better. Let's complain for the sake of complaining. Just like Larfleeze. We didn't get everything we wanted. Okay? Let's do that. Let's just have fun with it for a minute. 1. They should have released a Lex Luthor in the power armor, but made the power armor orange or even a translucent orange, like he was, like he made the armor, or like a glowy orange or something like that, like a Lex Luthor, right? Because in The Blackest Night, Lex Luthor was one of the ones that actually got the orange ring, and then Larfleeze was not happy about that. Would have been cool, and it would have been an interesting re-release for Lex Luthor and an easy repaint. Maybe even, arguably, a 2-pack with the only 2 Orange Lanterns, Lex and Larfleeze, in a pack that made them look like they were fighting each other, so that inbox collectors could have put it on their wall or whatever, and it would have looked like they were fighting over the ring or something. That would have been neat, right? 2. These should not be orange balls of power. They should be little constructs. A little angry man, or like a little creature alien thing or something like that, because the way that his power seems to work is that all the people who ever were or ever could have been Orange Lanterns that Larfleeze either killed or destroyed or took the ring back from, those seem to be the constructs. So we should have gotten, instead of these orange orb things, little creature things or something that would have actually been, you know, what he is. Or lastly, it would have been cool to get 3 or 4 figures released alongside him. And we know McFarlane loves to do this because he did the, hey look, people are ice, hey look, people are bronze statues, translucent orange figures of 5 or 6 different characters. Then Larfleeze could literally make his own core, because that's kind of what he does. And I'm not saying it had to be like a translucent orange Superman or something like that. You could have easily saved yourself time and money as well by literally even cheaping out McFarlane if you wanted to, and you could have done it with other lanterns. Basically reuse the lantern body like 4 times with a couple different head sculpts, or even just do one with 3 or 4 heads, all translucent plastic, and just release orange construct. And then watch people literally act on their inner Larfleeze as they run out to try to get 4 or 5 of these orange construct figures, because they want to be able to use every one of the heads. Greed, Orange Lantern, Larfleeze. I could complain, because we always can. But I can't complain. This is so cool. This is what I need from this figure. Right there. That would have been cool too if we could have got something like that, but this is what I need. I need him to be able, even if I couldn't get this, I don't think I care, but I would love to be able to get him hugging that lantern. Can I? I don't know. I think that's pushing it, because oftentimes they don't have the butterflies to get, but maybe. Maybe. Let's see. Okay. Orange punchy effects. Great. Orange lantern. Larfleeze. Oh, let's do this real quick. Larfleeze can fly. Also, not only should this have been one of your little flight stands, it should have been translucent orange. I said it. I said it. It should have just been special. I get that most of the time, having them be like a flight stand that's just, like clear, it makes a lot of sense. But, like, I do feel like the Green Lanterns should come with, like, green flight stands. You get the idea, like the translucent green. I just feel like it would have worked. It would have been a cool effect. And he can fly. Just give me the flight stand. Just give it to me. Mine! Here he is. Wow, man. Look at that. That is crazy good. Maybe because the suit is so simple, like, we're allowed to do a little more, but, like, we have, like, kind of a shiny orange. It kind of shimmers. Like, the detail on the face is utterly fantastic. We only got these hands. He has a punch and a grab, so he can hold the lantern, I would assume. We have a little bit of trim effect right here. The knee comes out, which is actually pretty cool because that is fair. Then we have like texture plating, which I kind of go back and forth with how I feel about that when it comes to lanterns, but it's fine. I think it really, really works for him. Arms, we have decent enough butterflies. They go back, they go forward. This is good. Emblem is sharp. It works. This is actually raised. That works. I don't know if there's reuse here. It's possible lantern stuff is pretty simple. Maybe we did the boots and then we stole parts from other stuff, but he feels awful unique to all the lanterns that I have on the shelf currently. So I don't know. I know that face is fantastic. He doesn't really look up that much. That's about it. One could argue he doesn't even really look down too far. He just kind of has that. And now, I'm going to put this under here. I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to wrap that hand around this part. I'm going to wrap this around this part. And then we're going to look this way. And then we're going to because we have toes on him, we're going to utilize them. Don't have too much swivel here, so we have to kind of play with what we have because he doesn't have a swivel. There we go. I know that's simple, but that's what I want. That simple little stupid thing right here. Come on, focus on Larfleeze. That's what I want. That's all I needed. I know, but I need him to be able to do this. That was my biggest demand. Can he hug and hold the lantern? Yes. You have my attention. You have my attention. Like, I don't know exactly how I think I'm going to put him on the shelf some kind of way like this. I will utilize his stand best I can or whatever, but That's all I needed. You could get more complicated. You could do all your cool poses. My Larfleeze, when he goes on the shelf, at least for the first week or so that he's up there before I start moving things around and reposing people, he needs to hug that lantern. He needs to hug it tight because he's new and there's a bunch of people all around him that might want his stuff, and it's not their stuff, it's his stuff. Perfect. Perfect. I think this is another fantastic McFarlane figure. Does it have pins? Yes. Is he really tall? Will he scale well? I don't know. I don't care. I'm not as hardcore. Sometimes the scale matters to me, sometimes it does not. It's very back and forth with me. What I can tell you for sure is that he looks fantastic. He can hug the lantern. He'll look great next to the other lanterns. For me, as far as I'm concerned, it's a McFarlane victory. I know there's people that get mad. I know there's people that call it mid-Farlane. I know there's people that cannot wait for him to lose the license. Regardless of how well Mattel does, I think McFarlane will, in some ways, be the Motu Classics of DC. I really do. I think you're going to see a lot of people in the next couple years that will talk about how it was better over here, or how we got this stuff, or how this is too focused on that, or how they don't like certain things, or how they do like certain things. And you're going to see a lot of back and forth arguing. It's coming. It's going to be interesting to see where everybody falls with all that, because I know that it's coming. I don't know yet. We'll see. But I do think some people, even if they don't believe so, will find certain reasons to miss McFarlane down the road. I really do. So, we went Jada, so that brings us around. Let's do this. Let's simplify and knock some stuff out for a minute. Because I have stuff in both waves that I'd like to start getting down, where a lot of the other piles have kind of gotten to a point where they're way more manageable. I could even do single stuff and knock them out, but these are starting to build up, and they've got stuff on the way, so I kind of need to do some focused stuff as well. It's the feeling I have when I write Santa a 1,000,000-mile-long list, then was good for an entire year and didn't get anything. I was able to find Larfleeze yesterday at Walmart in Broomfield, Colorado. I am very happy that I bought him. He feels solid. He feels like a really, really good figure. It's so weird the Spectrum of Lantern Corps isn't from the Silver Age, because it is such a Silver Age idea. Isn't it, though? Like, that's a fair comment, actually. It does feel like something that already should have existed and somehow didn't. Like, it almost wrote itself, and yet it didn't. And it does feel like it's something recycled. Like, oh, this already existed back in the Silver Age of comics, but we've kind of reworked it to do things like the Lantern War and things like that. But like it didn't. It is kind of wild. It's a fair statement. It feels like something that already should have existed. And it almost feels like something that did. Like you swear you would have read something like that back then. And then they would have modernized it and made it better. But somehow no. That is kind of wild. I'm going to miss McFarlane DC action figures. I think a lot more people than are willing to admit will. I'm not saying he's perfect. I think there are things that could be better. And I know some people are mad about simple things. Pins. They want pinless figures. It doesn't bother me that much. Like, it really doesn't. And it's consistent across the line. He didn't just randomly one day go, all right, well, now no pins, and we're going to re-release everything. He could have. I mean, we're kind of seeing it with the capes. We're seeing a lot of figures that we already had, but now he's kind of re-releasing them with the capes. I do kind of appreciate that in some way, though, because I prefer those capes. I don't know. I get it. But toys are toys. The business is a business. Like, I think for the time we had him, the stuff we got, the deep dive that he did, we got Ragman, Kite Man, I mean, one of the variants for Shazam was Captain Thunder. Tell me. And also, there's another complaint that I find very interesting. Everybody, where they're like, oh my God, more Batman? Here comes McFarlane with more Batman. Have we noticed that we already, in the first year of Mattel DC Core line, the kids line, we are already seeing multiple Batman? You don't think that it's going to be the same under Mattel? You don't think they're not going to... I mean, look, guys, there's a reason Hasbro just keeps doing Spider-Man. It's because I'm dumb enough to keep buying him. Batman is the same monster. We're going to see it. There's going to be a lot of samey stuff. I don't know what to expect, but I will find it funny when the arguments start coming up. And some of the arguments are very much going to be the exact same arguments we've already heard from this era of DC collecting. And let me say that while the figures have not been perfect, they have maintained a fairly fair price point in bonds of everything else that's going on. And we also know that we got a tremendous amount of deep dive and I got Sandman. I got Wildcat. Commander Steel. I got Jay Garrick. Stupid hat Jay Garrick. Guys, I gotta give it to McFarlane. He dug in. We got a lot of different versions of characters. We didn't get everything we wanted, but he also didn't go the distance. He didn't get a decade with this line. So what we got is pretty impressive for the time he had it. And it stays pretty consistent across the board what you are getting. I'm not saying there haven't been advancements and changes throughout the course of the line. Yes, like the Superman that had like the 90-degree elbows and whatnot. I didn't like that. I was glad when they got rid of that. And then it did make the other Superman that I had on the shelf feel weird because he like couldn't take certain poses and whatnot that the other ones could. But I guess that's also toys. But like, I look at other lines. I didn't like DC Classics. We've talked about this. It was not a line for me. I didn't like the way that they were designed. I didn't like the way they articulated. I didn't like that line in general. So I'm not about to sit here and say, oh, they were better. And then some of the other stuff was very hard, if not impossible to find, like DC Icons. Who was buying that at their local Walmart? You know where I was getting my DC figures before McFarlane? Six Flags. That's real, by the way. I'm not kidding. I would go to Six Flags about once a year because we would take my kid to Six Flags. And I would save up around $500 to take a trip to Six Flags. And I would buy the DC figures at Six Flags because there was an entire store, 2 or 3 stores that had a bunch of DC icons and things like that, and DC Legends stuff, and like that's where it was. It wasn't at Walmart. It wasn't at Target. You were lucky to come across it. Then McFarlane invaded the toy aisles, man. And for a long time, we've not only found consistent DC toys, but I would argue decent ones. I will, even if Mattel knocks it out of the park and puts out the best DC line we've ever seen, and here's hoping they do. I'm not kidding. Here's hoping they do. Here's hoping it's absolute. But even if they do that, you'll be hard-pressed to make me sit here and be like, oh man, I'm glad we got rid of him, because I won't be. And in certain ways, he ain't going anywhere. We already know that he's kind of moving into like the Image comic stuff. I'm very interested to see what he's going to do with Witchblade. Will we get a Darkness figure? I do have interest in the future for this. I really do. And I'm curious what we're going to see, what we're going to miss, what will be better, and what will be worse. Okay. Oh, fixed. Let's do... Oops. Let's also... There we go. There, see what that does. Currently waiting for Secret Wars Daredevil. Me too. Big Bad Toy Store hasn't charged me, but everywhere else it's available or was. Yes, I'm noticing. We are at the last day. So, and look, we're going to do this again. We've done this a couple of times. We're going to do it again. Oh, gotta fix this. There. So, let's check this real quick, because I gotta check my email. Okay. we have... Looks like I've got Secret Wars Marvel Legends Spider-Man on the way. I have the JSA Solomon Grundy Green Lantern on the way. Oh, I didn't expect her to hit that early. I have Lady Satanas on the way. Like, that's crazy. I didn't expect her to hit as soon as she did. In fact, I thought for sure she was a month or so out. I really, honestly did. So those are the three that I have on the way right now. And what is currently in shipping right now is the Dark Knight Returns and the Azrael. Because I did pick up the Azrael. I had to check my stuff to make sure that nothing was like coming that I was unaware of. And her I did not know. So that's wild to me. Yeah. Okay. So, if those are on the way, okay, and it is 5:31, because I had to do a little bit of real-life research. So those are the three things that are on the way that are coming right now. So they're marked off this list that we're about to talk about. So we're going to hit the pre-orders. In May, we were supposed to see Combatants Cassia. We did not. We're done. It's the 31st. We didn't get it. Because, yes, we're going to complain about street dates again. I know how this sounds. But I think it is important to mention this to new collectors on the often. This is real. If you think that these shipping dates, that these street dates are accurate, they are not. They are high-level estimations at best. You cannot rely on them. This is not a field where you can rely on the street dates. It doesn't work like that. This is the only collecting thing I can think of where this is true. But Cassia, they missed her. She's not coming in May. Also, Bernice, missed her. She's not coming in May. Okay, so this is fine, because the Brutal Realms, Croman, Krenin, Ogun, they're all second quarter. But Origins Tila 2000X, that was May, they missed her. So that, and they even put late May, they missed her. So she also did not ship on the time that it was expected. Looks like Magic, and everything that I just mentioned has now been moved into June. So now there was 1, 2, 3 figures that did not come out when they were supposed to, so they're going to be compounded into June on top of other things. Now with them in June is Magic, Daredevil, Red Sonja Immortal Champion, Conan the Barbarian Immortal Champion, Skeletal Guardian Immortal Champion. So now we've compounded and seen like 6 figures are now in June. Luckily, July seems very light. My July is only like 1 item. Literally 1 item. Which is probably really good, because lately this is happening a lot in terms of street dates for toys. This is not a hobby where you could take the street date at face value. And as far as I'm aware, for as long as I've been doing this, it never has been. You can't trust the street dates. You either toy hunt in the store, or you make sure your money is in the right place, or you will be surprised. I got like 4 figures that were supposed to be in May that didn't release, that are now compounding into June, while there are already figures in June. And that's not counting the idea that there are some things that are second quarter that could hit in June, while at the same time, there's stuff that's expected in July that could just show up in June. And if you're playing a pre-order game, which most of us are, street dates become very important, because you put your money down and you say, all right, so that's going to cover at this point. I'll make sure to have my money set correctly. And then all of a sudden, randomly in July, for no reason, you only had 1 figure. And you ordered it a year ago, because I know some of this stuff is literally ordered like 7-8 months in advance. You order it 7-8 months in advance, and you wait. Then all of a sudden in July, out of nowhere, without any thought about it at all, your card gets hit, and they say, hey, by the way, we're sending you 4 figures. And you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. There was only 1. No, because remember, we missed those 2 that were supposed to come out in June. Well, they didn't come out, so now they're coming out in July. And also, this guy that was supposed to come out like a month or 2 after June, well, no. We decided June makes the most sense, so we went ahead and send it. Like, you have to be careful. That is the reason I have 1 specific card tied to my collecting. And if that card takes a hit because of the way the stuff falls and it reaches its max or whatever, because I only have a $500 limit to keep myself safe. If that card hits a max and they just cancel one of my pre-orders, sucks. I'll have to go hunting for it. But I won't redistribute my budget to like try to get the stuff in like a panic either. I'll just have to take the loss, because I also can't screw up my budget, because, you know, I gotta live like an adult. You know, that whole stupid responsibility thing. I gotta do that. So street dates being unreliable in toys, as opposed to any other collecting thing that I have ever done, is a constant irritation and does need to be talked about on the regular. Loose Collector isn't playing around because they already have Shaft, Die Hard from Youngblood, Chapel, and Bedrock is in the prototype stages. I noticed that. Loose Collector all of a sudden has something to prove, man. You know what? You already know the song. We do. We do. Spider puts, buys whatever Spider-Man release. He does it, man, I swear it. Remember how cool McFarlane was in 1995? I do. But, on a personal level, he's not exactly hurting me nowadays. I mean, he just gave me Larfleeze. So, like, still working for me. But I get the argument that it's not what it used to be. I really do. Martian Manhunter. A very classic Martian Manhunter. A Martian Manhunter from DC Direct. I needed a Martian Manhunter. And I fought about what one to get. And I almost pulled the trigger on one because it was available, and I didn't dislike it. I can't remember exactly what one it was. I know that it's one that's still readily available and doesn't cost like an arm and a leg. It's still regular retail value. You can still find it. So if that narrows it down, there. Then I saw that they were going to do a comic book Martian Manhunter with like this like very brightish green, like the bright blue boots and everything. And I argued with myself, do I want that one? I mean, he's probably going to clash with a lot of the other figures that I have that are kind of like darker color schemes and things like that. Will Superman look right standing next to him or whatever? I have a Silver Age, or not a Silver Age, but like a more classic looking Superman that I could put with him. And then of course I have classic characters that this guy will look real nice standing around and whatnot. So like, will it work? You know what? I need one. He does feel classic. Might be minor problems. Do it. So I bought him. There he is. He's very bright. He's very much from a comic book era that used a lot of bright colors. One could argue that this green is not this green, but if you see the card back there, you see what they were going for, and they pretty much matched it. The only thing that's different is that, of course, in comic book world, shadows are like, we'll call shadows omnipresent in comic book world, because everybody has like hard shadows all the time. It's just like a thing. The sun casts very real shadows. So like, it took me a little while of arguing with myself if this guy was going to be worth it. His cape is soft goods, but it's not wired. That's a hit against him. His coloring is brightish green, like real bright green. One could argue that maybe he works a little better with a darker green. But, and I know this is going to sound weird, but this is real. This was part of my consideration. Does it seem more alien for him to be a bright green as opposed to being a dark green, which strangely enough, a darker green is easier on our eyes and feels less foreign when it's mixed in with a bunch of other figures. However, something that is this bright green with very primary colors like the blue and everything hits our eyes on that shelf and feels alien, right? That kind of got me thinking, that almost makes him perfect. Like the way that he stands out in a group, never really belongs. That's alien. That's kind of cool. And I started thinking about that. And I was like, I don't know why, but now that I've processed it that way, it does kind of feel right. So I said, you know what? It's the worst thing that happens. The figure sucks, right? If it sucks, I'm positive I could find somebody that wants a Martian Manhunter, and if nothing else, I could literally give it away. Okay. Said it. Got it. There he is. I've got him. Martian Manhunter. Right there. Then, after doing that, I knew that he was going to come in as a DC Direct. And I knew he'd come in this stupid clamshell thing. This clamshell box crap, for me, is the worst packaging in all of toy collecting. I hate it. I hate it. I can't stand it. I really do. I detest it. There's no easy way to open this. It's a pain. I really, really, really dislike it. If I was an inbox collector, however. This packaging is probably the most ideal. It's solid. It doesn't like break down or dent as easily as cardboard. I mean, look at this. I'm putting it through paces right now. If I did this to a cardboard, try that with your cardboard box and then hang it up on the wall. You won't get the same effect I just did. Little tab, it's easy to hang, put it up there, it's like a picture, you can see the whole figure. That's cool for an inbox collector. It is, it's cool. For me, this packaging is a royal pain. It takes real force to pull open. You have to cut it. You have to cut it with something very sharp because you got to get in there. If you're cutting it with scissors, it's awkward. Like if you've been in that position where you're like trying to cut and then you get up and then you got to like turn it and then you got to start cutting. But now like you got your hand in this weird position where you can easily like get your finger under the plastic. And I don't know if you know this, but when you cut this plastic will cut you hard. I have been cut by plastic more severely than I have been cut by box cutters. Maybe that is because I have worked in logistics almost my entire life. So like this thing right here, I know how to use it. Like I have been using a box cutter since I was 19. And actually before that, I used box cutter to like cut the tabs and things off of like Gundams and Gunpla and things like that. So one could argue I've been using a box cutter since I was about 11, maybe 10, depending, because I used to make Star Wars models. And I also used to use a box cutter. I got very good about like pulling it off the tab and then like using the box cutter to like shave that little tab off. So probably since I was 10. Being 42, I've had a couple of days with the box cutter. So it is very, very, very rare that I cut myself with the box cutter. But I've also been opening toys since I was like 5. And never in my life, even one single time, have I ever cut myself on this. Never in my life, even once, have I ever cut myself on one of these. You just grab it. Psh. Never in my life have I cut myself on one of these. But this monstrous packaging right here, I've cut myself at least 4 or 5 good times. You ever had that moment where like you cut it and you think you got it and then you kind of lift it and then you realize that like there's like a tab right here or whatever because there's this other plastic piece, and then you don't think about it. You think you've done this like 40 something times and big deal, like it's no big deal. You're just kind of going to pull it the rest of the way, but then your hand slips and you get that, oh! No packaging I can think of causes this problem except for these stupid clamshells. When I see this DC Direct logo or this Page Puncher logo, that I know it's going to come in this and it's going to come with a comic book, and we've had this argument already about the comic books and whether or not that's actually like worth anything to anybody. I have this moment of worry. because this packaging is awful. But if we're ever going to see this figure, we got to deal with this packaging. So, here we go. All right. Well, lo and behold, exactly what I was just talking about. I didn't cut myself. No cuts. But it felt there for a minute like I was about to. Once again, I cut the little sides. I didn't cut back far enough. I didn't want to recut. And this comic book that was in there was under a separate piece of plastic that was kind of like tabbed up, and I thought that I could just pop the tab, but it didn't want to give. And then I was trying to like move this and everything, and then I wrapped my hand around and I pulled that tab out and I felt it slip a little bit, and I was like, if I just cut myself after literally just talking about, I'm going to be so mad. I was like, you cannot be serious. Nothing, no cuts, but it felt like a real possibility there for a second that was about to happen. This is Justice League of America 77. I'm not 100% sure what run this was. I would have to look it up. Dan Jurgens right here. Looks like art is Rick Burchett. I'm going to be honest. Burchett's not one that like comes to the top of my head, so I'm not going to claim that this is like any legendary run or anything like that. Maybe this is just a decent enough issue or one of the many that they had. Oh, I know why this is. Remember that I remember there being a moment where he was like a different guy. He's in here. So they found an issue where they could show off Manhunter, but they could also show off the other guy. Because remember, I told you for a while that like I remember he was like a different dude, and then like I think somehow something happened, and there was like an actual guy or some comic books. I'm not going to claim to remember, but you could read this, and I guess you could find a whole new love for comic books. We've talked about this before. I really don't believe that the comic books included with these guys do any real favors for the comic book industry. I don't think it creates comic book readers. Sometimes I think it irritates them or even like overwhelms them as to how they're ever going to get into it. If you wanted to redesign the idea and Page Punchers was a little bit more expensive, I know how that sounds, but if it was like a $60 deal where you got this figure with a graphic novel of a storyline that pertained directly to him, a complete story, or at least a one-shot, like, hey, here's a Batman, here's a one-shot of this Batman, or yada yada, I think that makes more sense, but you get the idea. He, of course, came with a card. He, of course, came with a regular circle stand. They could have kept that comic book, given me a flight stand. Oh, and also, not for nothing, but why is the material on these two stands like... I guess I can't show it on camera, but I can see it. This is darker. This is lighter. This feels a little different than this. Like, you could tell this is like a different plastic. Like, these did not come from the same supply, I guess, is what I'm going to use there. Otherwise, he's a McFarlane figure, right? I mean, you're going to get the T-pose and everything like that. You're going to get the double elbows. You're going to get the knees. You got the boots with the better boot bottoms there, though. It's not just like the old McFarlanes where like these were like the hard ankle cuts or whatever. You don't got that going on. His cape was actually in that butterfly a little bit. Decent head sculpt, though. He can look down and he can brood all day long with you. But his color and everything, like I said, it makes him alien. I like that. This is a nice cape. It wouldn't be too impossible to do the wires yourself if you have decent enough sewing experience or somebody that does. So that's not terrible. It's not ideal. I would argue that if we're going to be paying the price, they should just go ahead and wire the capes. But then I've heard from some people that they prefer it this way. I've heard from a couple of people that they would rather have their figures with just the laying cape and not have the wire in it. I don't feel like that personally, but yeah. I will say though, without the wire, like you can see that like the fan is kind of hitting it. You can see that it moves. That's kind of fun. But like, I'm also not going to take a bunch of pictures with him standing in front of the fan. The dynamic of the wire is better for me. This seems like it's a little better, stands a little better than what we had on Spawn, but I wouldn't argue it's better than Spawn's cape. Otherwise, I'm getting all the same articulation. His mid-torso feels a little more restrictive than normal, but I'm wondering if it's because he's wearing this thing and it's holding him in place. Now, in this exact wave as well, they released the female Martian Manhunter, the Ms. Manhunter, or what, I can't remember what her name is right now. I skipped on her. She just, something didn't look right. It's hard to explain, but like I was looking at her, and like it didn't give me a comic book feeling. It just didn't feel right. That's the only thing I can explain. I passed on her. I did get the Robin, though, because that Robin... There are things I can complain about with that Robin, but that Robin looks good, personally. Martian Manhunter. Added to the shelf. I believe he will work for what I want him to be, what I want him to do. He came in a terrible clamshell, but I guess nobody's perfect. And now, because I have Martian Manhunter, now I want Oreos. Like I do. Like that's It's not even a joke. Like, I actually want Oreos. Specifically, I want peanut butter Oreos. Yeah. Like the Oreos, but not with this, but like with the peanut butter. I like those a lot. Do I like the Reese's or the peanut butter? Because there's two. There's the Reese's one, and then there's just the regular peanut butter one. I'm not sure which of those two that I like more. Maybe I need to buy them both. Probably not. That's probably a bad idea. I'm supposed to be like doing jogs and everything like that and working on my weight, and here I am like, oh, I got Martian Manhunter. I should just eat a whole box of Oreos. It doesn't mean I don't want them. Whatever. Martian Manhunter, added to the shelf. Happy for what it is. Really am. I hate that packaging. I think when he fully drives into the 90s sphere of Image Comics and Top Cow is when I'm on board. I've been waiting for Youngblood and the Darkness figures for ages. Yeah, it feels like something you were never going to get, right? Heck, I would even argue as far as when he first announced that he was going to do a Witchblade figure, I was stupefied. Like, that didn't even feel real. If he puts out a Jackie figure, it better have the dang armor he has as the Darkness. No, I got two figures I gotta look up. He hasn't announced a Darkness yet. But, like, if he's digging into that stuff, he's doing Witchblade, he did Silverhawk, he did Savage Dragon, he did Spawn. Like, and he announced that Witchblade is happening. That should give him the ability to do the figures. Like, for things like digging into stuff like that. And like he said, we're getting things like Youngblood and stuff like that. I imagine that he will do the Darkness. Why would you not? Does he have access to Darkchild? Could we get Aphrodite? Magdalena? Are all those in his wheelhouse? Because he did, not him specifically, but because Top Cow and Image handled a run of Tomb Raider comics, is that outside the realm of possibility? And right now, Tomb Raider is like really going crazy on a lot of their stuff. Like, she showed up in Fortnite and all this other stuff. She's getting a lot of toys and figures and like merchandise and statues and things. Is it impossible that we could see a comic book, Image comic Top Cow Laura? Could he do that? Could he do one of her? I might be into that too. What look? Oh, I hadn't even considered that. If he has, yeah. If he has access to Pit, Max. I mean, I don't know how deep this is going to run. I really don't. But, like, we have a real possibility. He could dive into really cool stuff. The only thing I don't like is that everything from this line is all of a sudden falling into like a $60 category. That feels too harsh, especially since most of what he's producing is really still just this. But it's also so rare and impossible. Like, we've never seen... When was the last time you seen a Witchblade figure? When was the last time you seen a solid, well done, like at this type of scale, this type of articulation, like a Hellboy figure? Hellboy's kind of not fair. I think we get a little bit more of him. But like that Silverhawk? When was the last time you bought a Silverhawk from a Walmart? If I stand here and wait for an answer, we will never sign off because it never happened. Not that I remember. But I don't love the fact that these are all of a sudden in the huge $60 hit range. Like that's a deep hit, one character at a time. Even with what was just said, if you got 2 figures to look up and those are the 2 you wanted and you justified them because heck, you normally don't buy figures, but these are the 2, you know what I mean, and you're not going to get any more. It's not like you're a collector, you just want these 2. That's still a $120 investment. That's a hard hit. You need double stuffed. I need that peanut butter. I need peanut butter. Since he's doing Hellboy, he can maybe do the Goon as a toy line too. Like maybe he got, but then again, maybe he just got the license for Hellboy, and like that is all he can do. Because if he's doing Hellboy, I imagine he has access to some of the Dark Horse library. And that's what I mean. Does he? It's hard to know. I wish we had some sort of definitive answer, like where he said, hey, I got the right to do this, kind of be looking forward to this, but he's giving us no indication of the future. He's just kind of like, surprise! But now we've got nothing to look forward to because, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, that's rough. Yeah, I don't know. Well, it is 12:34. We've only covered 3 figures today, but we did a couple of things, and I've got to get back to my editing. So I am gonna get out of here. I do appreciate everybody hanging out. We will be back next Sunday, and I think I have a couple of openings and unboxings that I'm going to be kind of shifting into this week. We'll see. I guess it depends on how busy I am, because lately at work, they've been kind of pushing a lot of 10-hour days. And I, of course, got this, which, like I said, I'm not fully recovered, but I'm mostly recovered. But this went pretty well, so we'll see. We'll see. Thank you. Boss Fight Studio is also going deep into Hellboy and Hellboy's characters. Right. See, that's what I mean. Like, I think he's one of those things that you do see a lot more. Like, as soon as I used him, I was like, that's a bad one, because we know that we've seen him in a couple of different figures and scales, especially recently. But, yeah. I appreciate everybody hanging out, and I will talk to you guys next Sunday. If not, throughout the course of the week as we release, I'm going to get out of here.